For these tube sconces, you can cut whatever size wood you really want for the projects, and you can have one or use 3 like I'm doing here. I painted these each 3 different colors. You can do them all the same, there's nothing wrong with that. Let them dry and then sanded them down and give them a little bit of a rustic look, and hammered in a sawtooth hammer in hanger on the back. These tubes are from Hobby Lobby and they are $2.99 each, which I did use a coupon on one, so it kept my price barely under $5. But yeah, $2.99 each because we needed 3. You could do 1 and then just spend $2.99, but I am doing 3. So I had this metal piece laying around from Hobby Lobby and figured we were going to just use this. If you don't want to spend $6 on this sheet, then just go to Dollar Tree. They do have galvanized metal pieces. Cut you a string like this to wrap around your metal tube or your tube. And actually, Dollar Tree has little glass tubes like this too, so you can even save on the tubes. I just happen to particularly want these exact tubes, so you can literally grab the products from Dollar Tree and save even more if you do that. I've used this little bit to drill in holes on the side, and then had tiny little screws to screw in, and this way I know my tube is not going anywhere with this galvanized metal holding it in place. I really love how the 3 of these turned out, and I feel like the colors complement each other. This would look amazing even with stencils or a raised stencil on them too. One of these bits to create your hole for your tea light in any wood that you're going to make. There are other tools you can use too. I have some of them. It's always a good time when I get out the drill, but for the most part you will always want to make sure that you clamp whatever you're putting a hole in down onto something to make sure it doesn't go flying anywhere. I am using one of these little plastic ones so that way I get a deeper hole. You can use a real candle, nothing wrong with that. And you do not need me to remind you that you create your tea lights however you want. This is how I did it. And the way that I went about this is I just lined them up, put a thin piece of washi tape over the top to make sure the line was straight down the top so it looked nice, neat, modern. And then I put it around the sides. I didn't go to the bottom. Erased off my pencil marks because I do forget to do that sometimes. Make sure you erase your pencil marks too, okay? Or don't if you don't want to. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, okay? Just I'm using a paintbrush and I'm doing it very, very light. Make sure that if you're going to recreate this, that you're not going heavy where the washi tape is. It will bleed underneath. Make sure that your little paintbrush, or if you want to use a napkin or a rag or whatever makes you fuzzy inside, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. You just be careful when you get close to the line so it doesn't bleed. Now, it's not going to be too big of a deal, and here's why. We're going to take some Dixie Belle drop cloth, and we're going to paint a beautiful tan line over the top to give it that modern feel. So all I'm doing is taking some more thick, well, this is thick, not some more. The other one was thin. You get what I'm saying, right? Anyhow, we're taking thick washi tape, and we're going to put over the top on the opposite way. So this way we are just leaving our little tiny line exposed with the raw wood still, and then we're going to paint over that. And I'm using a tiny brush and being very careful to not go completely around and making sure that there's not too much paint on it so it doesn't bleed. If you want, you can take some Mod Podge and go over this and make sure that that will, you know, cover any extra bleeding. I did not want to do that. I was confident that I could handle not putting too much paint on there to create too much of a bleed, and this did just fine. I do recommend though, try and take your painter's tape or washi tape or whatever you're using for this. If you're going to do a design like this, try and take it off before it dries. Sometimes if you wait till it dries, it will get stuck in there. And then I just sealed this up with some 2x Rust-Oleum, and that was it. these are the two apple barrel plaid colors I am using to enhance this piece of wood. I did beat this. I beat this board up. I sawed it up. I beat it with a hammer. Like, yeah, I rustic did it up. And to add some, you know, we're going to put some highlights in this, and that's what the two colors are for. I am using some water and just wetting the brush and being careful to not saturate the wood and try and stay inside of the natural wood lines. As you can see, I'm trying not to go over them. So this way, when we start adding in, I'm just using Waverly's antique wax. I really like this wax because I feel like you can get so many different variations of color out of it, and it's very versatile in my opinion. I really like the product. Anyhow, once you get your layered wax on there really well, you can continue going over and just adding more highlights with the paint like this, and then make sure you do get in all them little grooves and seal it, and you're all done. For this large wall sign, we're going to be using one of these, and we're going to cut that down to size, and we're going to get ourselves some trim. Now, Home Depot has a ton of trim. I'm going to be using these. I'm getting 8 foot for $5.14. Look at the size of this board. I mean, for all of that stuff, I only paid $13 and some change. I do own a jigsaw, so that is a no extra cost to me. That's what I'm going to use here. You can also use a table saw for this if you have one, but I don't, so I'm going to use the jigsaw. And make sure you have proper blades for the jigsaw, because depending on the blade, you can get a messy cut. I've had that happen to me before. Before y'all go just cutting everything everywhere, make sure you measure your areas. My mom wanted a 24-inch by 19-inch sign for that large one on the wall, which is by far the biggest sign I've ever made. You want to make sure you measure straight across and draw your line before you start with your jigsaw, so you can follow that as you go. Clamp down your wood to a table. I have a little work thing you don't see here, and make sure your settings are all correct on your jigsaw. This is set to wood, and here's an example of fast or slow. I'm gonna keep this on fast. Now I'm giving you guys an idea of just how slow I did this. This is how slow it is. I kept it normal. This is me speeding it up. But I went very slow for every single cut to make sure I stayed on this line. There's no reason to rush, no reason to rush. Just take your time, making sure it's even. Now I'm going to share with you my favorite part, my staining technique. I absolutely love apple barrel acrylic paint for this. You can use whichever one you want, and there are several different ways you can do this. You can use a clear mixing glaze that gives you more of a finished look. This is my preference. I've been messing with this stuff for a couple months. So this is just me showing you my favorite way and how I go about this. I use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of water, and I'm using about a teaspoon of paint for each time I change colors, or every time I kick it up a notch, I'll add a little bit more water if I'm adding the paint to the same thing for different colors. As you can see, this is really light, and I just cut up a couple cheap sponges, and keep a dry sponge so this way you can wipe some, because you don't want it to be real runny, and then your board will get very gross. I don't know how I'll say it. It gets gross, it gets blotchy. We don't want none of that. For this, because I am also doing them so many signs, I want the colors to match. And I know it's late. You're like, Brandy, why are we doing this so late? We're staining, people. We're not painting and completely covering it. We want to see the wood grain. We want to see the different variations. So we start out light, and then we kick it up a notch as we go. We're going to add more paint colors. We're going to add different colors, and then we're going to change it as we're staining it. Now, If you listen to anything I have to say during this entire video, listen to this. Go the whole way across with the wood grain. Follow the wood grain as you're going. See how slow this is? It's getting darker. I'm just following the grain all the way. I'm not stopping midway through. You will have splotch marks. You can't fix that. You have splotch marks. Some people do that with their dry brushing. I do not like that. Even when I dry brush, I go all the way across so it's a smooth blended look. It is just a preference. If you like your splotches, I support you in your splotches. And if you're watching this right now and you're like, Brandy, don't nobody have time to worry about if I mix too much paint or water, blah, blah. Here's the thing. Go to the store and buy regular stains. They have grays and different tones. They got like the cherry maple. It comes out like red. You can do whatever you want to create your own stain. You can use those as well and customize and blend with this. I'm going to show you how I do a stencil with this as well. As I continue going through the boards, I start, once the colors really start coming in, I just then start spot staining. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put a little bit more in this spot. I'm going to put a little bit more in this spot, and then would use my dry brush to kind of blend it, smear it as I went. So they just kind of really started, see how everything just kind of looks all smooth together. I really love the dry brush. It really helps. We're going to let these dry, but real quick, I do want to show you the giant board. Look at this. It is stunning. It's one of my favorite pieces I have made with my stain art. So now that everything's dry, we are going to want to cut our trim. And here's a miter box. This is an example of something you can use to cut your trims. You want to make sure they're on 45-degree angle. And just as me just giving you an idea, showing you exactly what this looks like. And you'll have, every time you cut your corner, you're going to have it match. I'm not even going to perpetrate on y'all. I quit on that miter box and moved on to my miter saw. I had to. There's too many cuts. It's too much. But if you got the stamina for it, you miter box it out. This project, you can use a 1x4, a 1x6, a 1x8. This is a 1x4, and I cut it to about 7 inches. I'm going to take some white twine. Use whatever you have on hand. I'm taking some solo wood flowers. I dyed one blue. And then I'm using Gorilla Glue gel to attach them to where the twine is, so that way it hides all the frame. A little laser cutout at the bottom from Dollar Tree. You could use a stencil or leave it plain. It looks fine that way too. A picture. These are my babies. They are younger in this one. I got Next one, we are creating the cutest little houses using these 1x2s, and I'm just creating 45-degree cuts at the top like this. Look how cute they are. They're so adorable. I'm going to use Waverly's Plaster and Waverly's Moss color paints to do these. I'm doing one in each color. And then I'm gonna grab one of my favorite little stencils from Dollar Tree. It's like a rubbery piece. I just really like these. It's always worked well for me. And I cut the little stencil into pieces and then had to keep going smaller with the brush because it just wasn't, they weren't fitting in the stencil. So I ended up with this teeny tiny little thing to stipple the stencil into place. And look how cute it is. I thought these were very modern boho-ish and just really like the color contrast with both of them. Let me know what you think. For this project, I wanted to create like a 3-piece little item, something you can kind of shove on a shelf, on a windowsill. Really, you could do that with a lot of these. Did I mention I like small DIYs? So I cut little square-ish pieces, and I did 3 of them. They weren't perfect in measure. I wanted you to see, like, it doesn't matter if they're imperfect. You don't have to have a perfect cut. You paint them suckers, whatever color you want, let them dry. and you can add whatever you want to these. I decided to go through and make myself miserable finding a teeny tiny stencil that would fit just perfectly on here along with a laser cutout. It took me like 45 minutes to piece this little gem together. I know it doesn't look like much, and it's really not, but I absolutely love how this turned out. If you're looking for more wood DIY inspiration, check out this video right here. And as always, people, thank you all so much for joining me today. Until next time.